What the heck? Did one of the new patches end up like breaking this or something? Like, why am I getting these new rewards, like new player rewards again? Okay. Anyways, Sushi Squad, assemble! We are back again some more Troll patch notes. It's been a long time since we were able to do that intro, and oh my god, guys. I'm sorry, okay? I know that this video is a couple days late from the patch, but I was dreading making this video because you already see the episode timer, man. You don't even know this is such a huge patch notes. Like, it is gonna take us a long time to get through this, son. Like, there is just so many things. So before we get started, there's a couple questions that are very, very common from you guys that I do want to answer. One, I am going to make a tier list video of which classes end up working in the Delves best. We'll maybe touch upon that today, but today, of course, is focused on the patch notes themselves. Two, we do not know what the console release date is going to end up being, okay? We literally heard about the Delves was like, oh, by the way, the Delves update is coming out tomorrow. And that was it. That was the only release date that we heard. So my best guess is expect it within a month, okay? Because usually it'll take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to a full month to end up converting the update over. We'll see. In all honesty, though, us on PC, we're kind of beta testing this before it goes to console. That's pretty much what they do, and it's a good tactic because otherwise it costs a lot more to end up patching console games repeatedly. It's not the same as PC where they can just put it out, right? But as of right now, I mean, the other big thing is, has the Delves actually helped with the lag? Because the big reason why they ended up making the Delves in the first place was to kind of move away from Shadow Towers, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. Move away from Shadow Towers in favor of an infinite dungeon so that the game didn't have to perpetually craft new worlds over and over for everyone that opened Shadow Towers, and whether that was going to end up seeing a big impact on the servers. And I can reportedly say that yes, it made a huge difference. As of right now, when I'm recording this video, they just put out a hot fix that kind of broke the game a bit and made it a little bit more laggy. But generally speaking, you know, day one of the patch, we ended up hopping on, and I maybe dealt with like one big rubber band or something like that while I was playing. And that was it. It was so smooth, dude. Like, the game is actually playable. And that was day one when the update was live and it was hot and everybody was on Trove again. So usually it's unplayable day one of a patch, so that was pretty impressive. Now, before we get into the patch notes themselves, I do got to mention that if you guys are new to Trove, use that sign up link that's in the description, and then anything you end up buying out of the cash shop, I'll end up making a percentage of. It's an awesome way you can end up supporting me by just doing what you do. And without further ado, dive ever deeper as you unearth new biomes and treasure in this exciting new feature, Delves. So this new endless dungeon experience sets you loose on countless caves. Okay, let's skip all of that. So Delves themselves are a new type of gameplay combining the geode caves with procedurally generated endless combat. In short, it's going to end up being the geode caves from, you know, the geode hub area, but there's combat involved, okay? And when you go into the portal, you will literally, like when you press tab, you'll go into caving mode rather than actually... This guy is freaking out, man. He loves the Delves. What is happening? Why am I so amused by it? Public delve. Oh, there's a public delve portal here. I didn't even notice. I actually wasn't even going for that. I was trying to show you guys the caves. Anyways, we might not want to do that right now. When you go into the caves, when you go tab, you do not actually go into your build inventory. Instead, you'll actually go into your geode caving inventory, so you can actually use modules in combination with combat. Not that there's many examples of why you want to end up doing that. So the biggest example would be with Path Painter, obviously, because it gives you a lot of movement speed. They also added a new module, which you can craft at this guy for Inert Geode, which is a new currency. We'll talk about that in a bit. But Is it here? No, I think you have to craft it right here at the module bench. I'm an idiot. So you gotta craft this. You do need an inert geode though. It's going to be basically a vacuum cleaner that's gonna suck enemies in. I'm slowly working on maxing it out, but they actually changed it since the test server, and it's actually a lot worse. This vacuum is going to be extremely overpowered for geode caving, by the way, because it just like gives you, like, you get double the amount of crystals vacuumed when this thing's maxed out. Imagine going to a crystal room and just all of the crystals are yours, baby. You don't have to farm them like an idiot jumping around the room anymore. Like, I'm actually really excited to try it out later. So anyways, there's 3 different kinds of delves. So there's public delves, which you see right here in the hub. As soon as we activate this, you'll see the icon on top of us shows that we're in the queue. We can go into normal adventure worlds and we will still be in the queue. You can also see that there's this little tiny icon in the top left that is showing that we're in the queue, because if we leave this world and go adventuring, we'll end up losing that green aura on top of us, but you will see the icon up here. The point is, you could be out adventuring, doing dungeons, killing time, and then suddenly you get thrown into the delves, because the public delves are going to end up using a queue that is going to kind of bring people together based on power rank. Which is weird, because power rank doesn't mean anything in the Delves update. It's all about light, because the enemies that are in the Delves actually have the darkness stat on them, which is basically an armor stat, and you need to have more light in order to... light is literally an armor penetration stat. Just for some reason they call it dark and light, and it's confusing AF, dude. Like, I don't know why they don't change it at this point, considering all of the things that they have changed to make a lot more sense. But anyways... so then there's also going to be the private delves. You'll literally be able to craft these portals right here. And then there's also going to end up being the challenge delves. So before we get into this, I'll talk about inert geode. So when you're going through the delves, killing enemies and defeating bosses and stuff like that, and opening dungeon chests, you're going to end up being able to get yourself inert geode. Inert geode is a new type of currency, as you can see right here, that is used for pretty much anything delve related. Now, the thing is, you can also see there's an inert geode wallet. So there's actually 3 wallets in the game right now. One of them you can buy out of the cash shop for credits, which means free-to-play players are able to access it. Another one you just buy for inert geodes at this same merchant. And then this last one right here is for the coin of the Obsidian Delver, which is actually related to the maxed out complete 500 challenge delves. I'm at 43. Which, I mean, it's not going to take that long to get this maxed out, dude. Like, seriously. If you're just grinding it nonstop, it's not that big of a deal. The problem is that they want us to do, like, what is it? Like 250 private delves as well. Which there's not much point in doing that over the challenge delves, because they're literally the same thing, but kind of better, but kind of not at the same time. I don't know. The point of the wallets is that you can only have a limited amount of this inert geode resource at a time. So if we cycle over to our flux menu, you can see right here, inert geode 290. My limit, because of the 2 wallets that I have, is 1,000. So anything above that, you can see this guy is just barely there. There is a merchant that can sometimes spawn in the delves, and he'll actually sell items that cost over 1,000. So you got to have the maxed out wallet in order to buy that. That's kind of how they limit your purchasing, especially because at the beginning you start with like a very, I forget what it is, but it's a very low amount. I think you start with like 600, and then every wallet increases it by 200. I think. Don't quote me on that. The patch notes don't seem to actually mention it, or at least I can't find it. But anyways, moving on. Back to the private delves and the challenge delves. Private delves are literally going to be what they say. They're private delves. You'll throw down a private portal. Everybody around you will be able to press E on it and queue up. And you'll see a little number of how many people are queued up and everything like that. And then the person who placed it down can just force start it. So you can do it with 1 person. You can do it with a max group of 8. If this is a Leviathan, I want it. What is going on? The lag is like insane. This is why I mean, it's not normal lag, it's latency lag. And this was only after the recent hotfix. This was not apparent when the Delves update first ended up coming out. So anyways, the challenge Delves, however, are going to kind of be the new type of Shadow Towers, I guess. So we'll talk about it in a little bit. I guess I can kind of summarize it, but Shadow Towers basically are being absolutely obliterated in favor of the Delves, because the Delves is an infinite dungeon, whereas Shadow Towers constantly had to create a new instance, which ended up causing strain on the servers, right? Is this the Leviathan? Yes, it is. All right, I'm going to go to D&D. Yeah, this lag is nuts, but thank you very much for the invite because I want a permanent torch. So with that, Shadow Towers now have been changed. They do still exist in the game, but they've been changed in that when you open up a Shadow Tower portal, instead of generating 3 arenas and then the boss, it actually just generates the boss. So you just go through the portal, there you go, that's it. Which is cool. You can also reset the boss, so you could just fight it over and over again and very easily end up farming for the Shadow Tower, whoopsie daisy, the Shadow Tower badges where you got complete Hydra and Dreadnought like over and over and over again. It's somewhere in the gameplay menu here. There it is. So like Hydra and Ultra and stuff. Or you can end up just leaving the Shadow Tower, opening it again, what have you, you know, just doing it over and over again. Sorry guys, I'm not really talking right now just because I'm in the middle of this. But anyways, with all of that, they kind of set it up so that they would have the delves be the replacement, so that it would cause a lot less server issues, which it did, you know, for a little bit. They definitely have to fix what they broke with this latest hotfix. But anyways, we got what else do we got? So the challenge delves, that's right. So the way that the challenge delves work is when you open your first challenge delve of the week, you're automatically going to be set to depth 110. So the depth will go from 0, and the higher the number, the deeper the delve you are, which means the higher the difficulty is. I think right now the highest people can actually do is something like, I think it's something like 150 or something like that, just because it's like so broken in the way that it generates. All right, I'm going in here, even though we got like all Ice Sages doing all this stuff. Like I'm going in with my Tomb Raiser. I could care less. But the challenge delves are pretty cool because they are the only ones where you'll actually keep your floor, right? Oh, he just killed me through Death Defying. Well then, stupid game. Well, that's my fault. Whatever. So with the normal public delves and the private delves, if for whatever reason the game glitches out, because it does, there's a lot of instances where the delve itself will glitch out and just not work, and you can't progress anymore, it will actually just completely reset if you leave and try to come back. It'll reset the difficulty and the floor depth to whatever it was when you first entered, whereas the challenge delves will just continue past that. Okay, this group is not actually killing them as fast as I was expecting, so let's just get out of there so I'm not as distracted. And then the point is that with the challenge delves, you'll actually keep your progress. The thing is that every week, your progress is going to go backwards 8 floors. So let's say you end up getting to, you know, like floor 150, and then you get reset 8 floors. That means next week you'll end up starting at floor 142 or 143. I don't know. I can't math right now. And then you can just work your way back up to 150. But the prime example is that it's always going to end up starting at difficulty 110. Now, as you may have noticed in the hub area, there was 2 different portals. There's an easy challenge portal and just a normal challenge portal. It's obviously not called that. The normal challenge portal, as far as I know, is going to throw you into the depth based on the power rank of your entire group, if I'm not mistaken. I don't quote me on that. But the easy one is always going to throw you at depth 110. Yeah, okay, never mind. Both of these say 110, so I literally don't know what the difference is. Challenge delve depth of placing player. Oh, I see. I see. So this one's always gonna start at 110, and then this one is actually kept. Weird. I don't know. It doesn't explain it properly. Maybe that's how you get to continue your delve depth, is by just starting the challenge mode one all the time instead of easy. Sorry guys, it's a bit confusing. It really is. So I'll kind of skim through a little bit more of these features as well. I do want to mention you can go into the delves with a total of 8 people, so don't bother trying to do any further than that. With challenge delves, only the people that were initially in the queue to join will be able to leave and then get invited back. You can't just invite random people. I think in private delves, people can be invited after it has started. Yeah, but in public and challenge delves, you can only re-invite people that left previously and were already in it. Yeah. Delves also allow players to use modules from the geode caves as well as engaging in combat, unlike Adventure Worlds. Yeah, we already talked about that. So because of it, they kind of changed a few things. Path Painter has been buffed. Also, the shield will end up reducing damage, but also has been changed quite a bit. Basically, the way that the shield barrier module works now is it just lasts a solid 60 seconds instead of taking a certain amount of damage, makes it dissipate, and it will reduce incoming damage by 15 to 35%. I think that's based on upgrading it, 35% being the maximum. It also combines with a level 6 vacuum, if also equipped, which allows the shield to pull in enemies when struck while active. So that could end up being really good because it's really good for like tanking and stuff. The Thumper rank 7 upgrade also causes it to make delve enemies visible through walls, which can end up being kind of useful. Delves are dangerous and death matters. Each time Trovian dies in delves, they will have to wait 5 seconds, and that timer will end up increasing the more times that they die, because when you go into the delves, there's going to be a limited amount of time to kill all the enemies and a limited amount of time to kill the boss at the end, and the objectives are going to end up being kind of random and change accordingly. So let me actually see if I can hop into one right here. I'll just leave it cooking in the background, just so we can kind of talk about the delves a little bit. I will also have a more in-depth video specifically talking about the delves though, just because there's quite a few things to talk about with it. And I mean, we're already 16 minutes in and we've barely scratched the surface with this patch notes, guys. So I'm kind of trying to give you guys the main highlights. I might miss some stuff because there is a lot of text that I'm skimming through here, guys. But anyways, as you end up going through, certain enemies will end up having certain buffs. Some of them will end up having darkness and stuff. And there will be like little trophies representative of each of the enemies with the buffs that those enemies have alongside their trophies, so that you can tell which enemies have which buffs. Or debuffs in some cases. The bosses can have buffs as well, and it's really, really annoying. The timer is really annoying because, frankly speaking, when you get to the deeper depths, it doesn't matter if you have a super tryhard group. You actually cannot kill enough enemies in the time limit that it takes to get to the end. It's actually really unbalanced and stupid. So the devs either need to do something about the timer or just nerf the enemies in general. Because I think it was like the highest the group's gotten, it took them like the whole 5 minutes or 7 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is. It took them the entire timer. And they only just did like a sliver of health on the enemies. That's how broken it ends up being later on. So, but you can also in the delves clear. You know what? I'll just open a private portal just so I can show you guys this verbatim myself here, because there's quite a few really cool mechanics that they actually have in the delves, like a checkpoint system. And various buffs that you can end up getting and stuff like that. So let me actually see, where is my private portal? This will kind of end up being a waste of a private portal, unfortunately. Jesus, see that latency lag? It's crazy, dude. I also want to just hop into an area where I lazily don't have to end up typing and changing the build mode. I also don't want people to end up joining me. So we'll queue up for this, and I'm just going to hop in right here before this guy gets in. Rip. And we started on floor 121 based on my power rank and based on the fact that I'm the only player that's actually trying to get in it. So if more people were queued up, obviously that difficulty would end up going higher. I think at floor... I'm not exactly sure on the floor numbers yet, but certain floors will end up increasing the difficulty. Yeah, so I think it's like somebody said 118 depth is going to end up being the first floor at U10 difficulty. And U10 difficulty is going to be the biggest thing, the biggest draw to this, because it's the first difficulty of the delves that can end up dropping Crystal 4. I've actually had a few people already say they've gotten Crystal 4. One dude got super duper lucky in our Discord and actually got a Crystal 4 bow on like his first U10 delve or something. Or no, he actually said he farmed for like 3-4 hours, so pretty easy. So this right here is going to instant travel you to your latest checkpoint, which we'll talk about that as we go a little bit further. And then these are those trophies that I mentioned. These enemies right here, the skeletons, some enemies have reduced darkness. Well, these guys have reduced darkness, which means that they will actually take more damage. And then these guys have more darkness. These have increased health. These have physical resistance, and these have some darkness reduced. So you can kind of, based on the video effects, get an idea of what each of the examples is going to be. But there's a couple different things that you can end up doing. So right now we have the objective kill creatures. So you just gotta kill like a whole bunch of everything. You'll also notice that there's instantly some really high tiered resources from the Geode Caves that you could actually go for. I've seen some people just go into the Delves specifically to farm for the resources, which I don't blame you, because it's a lot faster than going into tier 5 of the or the Geode Caves over and over. But as we end up killing all of the enemies here, I think that should have actually done it. So let me take a peek where... Yeah, so you see that flashy video effects up there, the big glowiness? That is actually our fast travel point, and if you see that video effects, it means that this room is cleared. So you'll kind of get the hang of it as you go a little bit further, but each of these rooms are going to be pre-made, but the way that they combine is RNG, so it's random generated, right? And it kind of pays off to kill like almost every enemy, but you can see the enemy placement can be a joke sometimes, especially when you're dealing with monoliths later, which I'll talk about that in a bit. So I know, for example, like this is a whole room. This is still the same enemies, and they still have the same resistances. So we know that this is still all the same one room. This is actually one of the worst generated rooms, because they can like have these enemies drop in like so many different floors. The other thing too is in private and challenge delves, you might have noticed at the hub area merchant there was a bunch of mounts and junk like that, and you're wondering like, why would you ever get those? Because they're like weird disgusting elephants. You actually saw them when we were at that U10 Leviathan. A bunch of people were standing on them, right? So the reason for that is because those mounts are the only mounts that you can actually see. We got the video effects up there, so we actually cleared this whole room. Those mounts, like the mammoths and stuff, are only usable. I mean, you can use them anywhere else in the game, but they're the only mounts that you can actually use inside private and challenge delves. Public delves, you can use whatever mount you want, but you won't be able to swap your classes. Whereas with private delves, you can swap your classes. Challenge delves, I think you can as well. If I'm not mistaken, I would have to double check, but I think there's a slight variance between private and challenge delves. But the biggest point is that, like right now, I'm pressing my mount button. I cannot equip my mount. Yeah. But you can see we've got, let's talk about the objectives. So we've got 3 minutes left to kill 106 enemies. Frankly speaking, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, just because I'm taking my sweet time. Not to mention I'm playing Tomb Raider, so not really the best example. I'm going to skip through a lot of these guys as well, just go for the physical enemies, because these guys will all come and try to get personal with me. So it's a very easy way to just kill them right away. The enemy types also are varying to insane degrees. Some enemies will be super duper strong and tanky, just at their base. So if those enemies end up getting a darkness buff, it's just a joke. Like, that's the one thing that sucks about the delves, is just how unbalanced it all is, because certain biomes and certain buffs that you'll just randomly get, like too much of it is based on RNG, which is the only problem that I have with the delves, because it means that sometimes you will blatantly fight a room or get to a floor that is impossible because it generated poorly, you know, like it just generated with like the worst possible enemies having the worst possible buffs. And it's like, that's not a challenge, especially when you consider that the challenge of delves comes in the form of play the top tiered classes. That's pretty much it. Now, that said, I want to be very clear about this, guys, because a lot of you have been really worried, like, can I main this character in the delves and stuff like that? You can main any character in the delves so long as you stay to the lower floors or higher floors or lower number, okay? I don't really know how else to say it. And honestly speaking, I'd recommend that you stay on the lower number floors anyways, just because it's going to end up working out better for you. It's going to be funner. It's going to be more entertaining. And honestly is going to have better chances of drops, because Crystal 4 gear is now in the game. It's exclusive to the delves. You see that we actually completed the objective, so now we have to reach the Cursed Skull, so I'm going to do that. You can also see with the compass up here, each of these blue markings is a room that we've killed all the enemies in. So these are fast travel points. And the reason the compass goes left to right like this is so that if you accidentally get lost and start going backwards, your head on the icon is going to start going backwards. Your head is always going to be the biggest one, where other players are going to have green hair and be a much smaller icon. But anyways, let's complete this objective. So anyways, we had to reach this cursed skull within the time limit. Now we can just kind of chill until I activate the boss, and then we're going to have a time limit to end up fighting the boss. But in terms of the crystal gear, like crystal 4 gear that I was talking about, the way that it drops is it will drop as soon as you get to U10 difficulty in the delves. Delves will just keep going to U11, U12. Like, it's dynamic, it's just going to keep on progressing, but players just can't get to those deeper depths just because of how broken the difficulty is. But the thing is that crystal 4 you can get as early as 118, 121, whatever depth ends up generating with U10 difficulty. Stay there, okay? That's your best bet, because you, no matter what class you are, you should be strong enough that you'll be able to get through it no problem, whether you're soloing or doing it with a party or not. And then you'll be able to defeat the boss super duper easy and ultimately get the chest that the boss is protecting. And here's the thing. While, yes, the higher the difficulty in the delves, the more chance you have of actually getting a crystal 4. That doesn't really matter, because the difficulty is going to be that much harder that you're going to get the dungeon chest a lot less often. And because of it, it is going to end up meaning that you, technically speaking, are having less odds of actually getting crystal 4. Like, it's better to be in an earlier delve, especially because I've heard quite a few people actually getting it just very early on in the lower floors and stuff like that. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting about that is the fact that the crystal gear being in earlier delves, it also is the same as like crystal 3 and crystal 2 and everything, where you, technically speaking, don't have to have any magic find in order to get it. Obviously, having more magic find is going to end up increasing the odds of getting the drop. But there was what was it, Frolic, I think, in our Discord. He ended up getting a crystal 4 bow, the one I mentioned earlier. And he got it with like 1,000 magic finds. So that just goes to show, like, it's like, it doesn't really matter what your magic find is. It's just going to help you out. So anyways, here's a pressurized chest. Always drops like garbage for some stupid reason. Then there's going to be this guy where you can swap your, swap your geode caving stuff. There's going to be a loot collector, which you used to be able to actually bomb this thing and get rid of it. That was one thing that they ended up fixing with that recent hotfix that I mentioned, which kind of broke the game. And now you see we're moving on to the next depth. So I don't know why it always shows the depth that you're currently in rather than showing the new depth. But anyways, the weird thing about the delves is that they kind of operate similarly to Shadow Towers. Also, the portal will end up opening faster based on more people standing by it. So if you have like your whole group standing over there and only one person's waiting by this portal, it means it's going to generate really, really slow. But anyways, you'll go through the portal, you continue onward, repeat, right? Every time you get to the 3rd floor, no matter like where you've started, the 3rd floor deep in is going to end up actually generating with a shadow chest, very similar to a Shadow Tower chest, and you'll have to use these new delve shadow keys on it in order to open the chest. And that's going to be your best bet for getting like the crystal 4. It's just where you get most of the really good gear out of the delves, is out of those chests. And then whoopsie daisy, and then from then there is also going to end up being merchants that can spawn in that room, and that's another place you can end up spending the inert geode. You can actually buy a lot of the items, like a lot of the items that you get are tradable, so that's pretty cool. And then otherwise, I think that pretty much summarizes the delves to the best of my ability. I'll try and have like another video again that maybe goes in a bit more detail for you guys, but I wanted to kind of cover all bases with that in this patch notes, just because the delves themselves are the big portion of this update. So now I can kind of just go through and summarize a few things. And again, there's so much patch notes here, which I'll leave in the description so you guys can check it out. But public delves, private delves, challenge delves, delve rewards. So after defeating the boss, a pressurized chest will appear. In the consecutive, every third consecutive tier will have a heavy pressurized chest with additional loot. In order to get these, by the way, the Delve Shadow Keys, normally you get the fragments, I think from just doing delves in general, so you can do them in public delves, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But now they actually have it so that you can craft them out of Shadow Key fragments and stuff. This is going to end up working until next year, and then they're going to end up removing this conversion system, and then you'll just have to get the Delve keys from scratch rather than being able to convert your Shadow Tower keys, right? So Shadow Soul vaults can be opened an unlimited number of times, but players will only receive Titan Souls, Lunar Souls, and Despoiled Divinities from the first 6 Shadowy Soul vaults opened each week. So again, to talk about Shadow Towers, they've moved Titan Souls and Lunar Souls and Despoiled Divinity out of the Shadow Towers into the Delves. They are in the Delves. They're confirmed in the Delves. Pretty much they're saying that not 6 floors, they're saying every 6, the first 6 Shadowy Soul vaults opened each week. So you don't have to, as far as I know, you don't have to consecutively get to the 6th chest by doing like a million floors all in one sitting. You can just go to the first 3rd floor, open a box, log out for the day, get the next box later, and it'll just continue your progress throughout the week, with the last chest obviously giving you the Lunar Souls and Despoiled Divinity. Now, the fun fact about this is that you may have noticed that Monday has actually been changed from Shadow Tower Day to Delve Day, and it has removed the bonus Titan and Lunar Souls from this as well, which in particular, patron users got double the amount free-to-play players could get. They've actually just removed that buff altogether and just applied it to everybody. So now free-to-play players are getting the same amount of Titan and Lunar Souls as patron players would. So good job on that one, Game Ago. That's really nice. So this obviously is going to double crystal drops, which is just geode caving is going to be like really nice. Double shadow shard drops, which you still get shadow shards from the delves again as well, and inert geode drops, which is that new currency that I mentioned that you get from enemies in the chests and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Binding Darkness can also be found in chests, and has additionally a small chance to drop from enemies in delves. So Binding Darkness is in the delves now, and as far as I know, it's actually gotten a lot better, because I normally never get Binding Darkness, and I've actually been getting it frequently enough that I've been able to get re-rollers. So that's very, very nice, because otherwise I had the worst luck with Shadow Towers and just never ended up getting it. So it's really nice. So after depth 25, when a heavy pressurized chest appears, a Shadow Soul vault will also appear, containing special rewards like Titan Souls, Lunar Souls, and Divinity Souls. Why is it repeating it? They said it like 2 or 3 times, or I just read it twice because I just messed up. Shadow shards are now available from picking up crystals inside of delves after a certain depth. So just getting crystals in general is going to end up giving you shadow shards. That's actually really interesting, because I was wondering, where are the shadow shards? Because I never saw them, but I was constantly getting them, right? Currency cap for the inert geode. Yeah, 3 wallets are available. Let me see right here. There's pressurized locked delve caches can also be purchased for inert geodes from some of the merchants that you can get. So that is going to end up being where do I have mine? Oh god, there it is right there. So these are going to end up being a new cache. Sorry, I'm scratching my face so much, my beard's growing in and I gotta shave. These are going to end up being a new box that you'll get from just doing delves, opening the boss chest is going to end up giving you some of these, right? And these are actually really, really good, because you can get a lot of really good banners out of it, which we'll talk about the banners and all the stuff that we can actually craft and buy for inert geode a little bit later in the video. But the banners essentially are going to end up giving you passive buffs, and a lot of them will actually give you light buffs. There's also some allies that will give light value and stuff like that. And the pressurized boxes can actually drop a bunch of unique items as well, including tradable versions of certain items. So it's pretty cool. They really push the banners in this update. There are so many of them. So there's tracking potions, which allow you to see enemies through walls, which is kind of stupid, but it's useful because enemies will actually generate in the dumbest places possible, sometimes actually screwing over your timer because the enemy generated like inside the wall and stuff. It does happen from time to time, just not often. Mementos is another big thing that lots of people are confused about. They are literally going to end up being an item that'll show up in your inventory. You consume it, it gives you mastery, it unlocks the memento in your well, it's somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. And these are literally just giving you mastery. There's like 200 of these or something. It's ridiculous. 76, never mind. Okay, 70, okay. There's a lot of them, to say the least. They just drop randomly as far as I know. They also, for some reason, decay after 3 hours of online play. So even if you log out, it's not going to decay. But you can loot collect them for pressurized delve caches anyway, so it's fine if you end up getting duplicates. There's new banners through the delves, new decorative versions of the banners as well. So here's a couple of the decorative ones. They're very, very big. But you can end up getting, like, through the delves and opening boxes and stuff, you're gonna end up basically getting like a banner and a flag or something. There's two different items, right? You'll end up getting tons and tons of these items. They will literally fill up your inventory. I'd hate to be a free-to-play player that only has the first inventory slot and tries to attempt the delves, because your inventory is going to fill up super duper fast. But you can actually use all of those weird items to combine into these specific, like, other banners that you'll be able to put on your character. And this one, for example, that will give you physical damage, grant flash capacity, and movement speed. So not bad. Not to mention, most of these, if I'm not mistaken, will give you light value as well. But honestly speaking, just keep opening the pressurized boxes, because they're going to give you the best banners. Like, unfortunately, all of these banners that you can craft are pretty useless compared to the ones that you can get. Like, this one gives 300 light and has a passive ability where it increases the chance for standard delve enemies to drop inert geode. And right now it's all about getting inert geode, so this thing's actually really useful. I mean, obviously these banners do still have a purpose, that's for sure. But I just like the passive bonuses that you get out of these pressurized box banners. They're really, really good. So there's also a bunch of delve badges, as we kind of mentioned, for doing public and private and junk. You'll end up getting various items out of it. Delve Day, they kind of talk about. Shadow Tower changes. I'll kind of skim through this. Shadow Tower is now open directly to the boss layer. There's a reset button for the boss, but it won't end up resetting the boss's dungeon chest. Not that you end up getting any good gear out of the Shadow Tower's chest anymore. It's pretty awful. So at the least, it's really, really easy to grind those badges, dude. Like, I kind of feel ripped off with yeah, how difficult and time consuming it was for me to grind up all my badges, and now you can just literally repeat the boss. Like, this is how Shadow Towers should have always been, honestly speaking. So on top of that, Purple Name has actually been moved to the challenge of deepest depth on the weekly leaderboard, which I like that a lot. I think that that's a lot better than just Daughter of the Moon speed running, because most people would just use like macros and stuff. There wasn't really any effort involved with something like that. And of course, because of it, unfortunately, Purple Names became like very toxic and were just, I don't know, very try hard, but not in a good way. With this being something that's related to actually playing the game and having a try-hard group that actually gets to a certain depth for that week, I think that that's actually really cool. I think that Purple Name might actually slowly shift into something that is actually brag-worthy-ish. Like, you know, with Daughter of the Moon, it was literally just using the right class combination and just setting up your group to be perfectly timed, and that was it. Like, I not that I ever did it, because I never cared about how toxic that community was. But anyways, moving on. So the Shadow Moon and Eclipse key fragments are no longer obtainable. Also, it talks about converting the keys, like we mentioned. Starfire Dragon Egg fragments also no longer drop in Shadow Towers, and now occasionally come from chest found when completing delve floors. Oh, that's Binding Darkness. While Starfire fragments can now be found on world bosses outside of Shadow Towers. So Starfire Dragon, I don't know if this is better or worse. At least it's going to be more consistent. So that will be something that you'll just passively be getting while you're out farming anyways. So at the least, even though Starfire Dragon is probably still insanely rare drop chance to get the fragments, at least you can just casually do stuff that you would normally do in the game to end up getting that dragon. So it is a definite improvement. I would just still like to see that drop rate increased a bit because it's awful. So they also changed some stuff with mastery. This is actually a really big update. So mastery stat rewards have been retuned. While stats are now granted only by the initial levels, they will lead to more power for all players. So basically they shifted it so that Trove Mastery now gives stat rewards for the first 500 mastery. Normally, like somebody like myself who's at 658, this is Trove Mastery. My total mastery is because my Geode Mastery, but that doesn't really count. So with the Trove Mastery, 658, I was continuously getting stats and power rank. They've changed it now so that you only get stats and maybe you still get power rank. They changed it so that you only get up to Mastery 500. And for each Mastery level, you will get 0.6% health, 0.2% damage for power rank. After the first 500 levels, Trove Mastery gives 1 power rank and 1 magic find. Okay, so you do still get magic find, or power rank, I mean, which is just a visual number. It doesn't actually mean that your stats are any better. So Trove Mastery additionally grants 1 Chaos Factor at level 500 and an additional Chaos Factor every 50 levels above that. Chaos Factor literally is the amount of Chaos chests that you would earn per day, you know, when you would log in and you have them in the claims menu. But they've changed it now. I want to mention this briefly before we continue, where now in order to get your Chaos chests, instead of just logging in, grabbing them and logging out, they want you to actually grind. So as you complete dungeons, you'll slowly end up earning your Chaos chests, similar to the star bar and how that works. You just hop on, grind a few dungeons for a couple minutes, and then you can get all your Chaos chests done for the day. So they also have Geode Mastery will now also grant stat rewards for the first 100 levels. There's only 100 levels, so okay, guys. So you get 10 light for each level and 5 power rank. Mastery has also increased for the following items. They have a list of various items that give different amounts of mastery, most of them a lot more, so that's pretty cool. Tomb Raiser changes. So this is the big reason I'm on the Tomb Raiser. You guys may have checked out my streams and stuff, but I haven't had a video specifically talking about the class rework. I kind of did, but it was on the test server, so a lot of that has actually changed. But I do still gotta do a video talking specifically about the Tomb Raiser change. I'm just writing that down so I don't forget. But in short, he's got some really big changes, has become a lot more viable. Just to save time, we won't read any of this today, but trust me, he's actually really, really strong. He's very close to the Draco, but the thing is that he still takes a little too long to build up to that because you still have to summon all of your minions and then your ult as well. The difference is, though, like, it's night and day. You constantly have minions summoning on top of the souls that you will right click to summon the minions yourself. And then you can have a total of, I think, 6 minions. And then anything that you use souls on after that will actually give the minions a purple health bar, which means that they're empowered, they're stronger. And if you have all of your minions empowered and then you summon your ultimate, it's going to end up being stronger, as opposed to if you just summon your ultimate like right now at base, it's going to end up being super duper weak. So you're trying to end up getting your minions augmented as much as possible. That said, the ult is still going to end up being fairly useful even at its weakest stage. Magic Find changes. Oh boy, this is a good one. They changed the Magic Find like crazy, guys. Like look at this. My Magic Find is almost at 10k. Like so Magic Find bonus from defeating enemies has been drastically improved. After 150 Magic Find, the bonus is multiplicative. God, I hate that word. On kills, the player gains 1% Magic Find, up to 50% extra Magic Find, or 1 Magic Find per kill, up to 50 Magic Find, so 50 kills, whichever is greater. Messaging on death related to losing Magic Find has been made clearer. Using /respawn will now decrease Magic Find when used in combat worlds, so you can still respawn in club worlds and junk like that, but combat worlds is going to screw you over. They also changed tomes as well. So legendary tomes now nag the player every 30 seconds. So this is a big thing for console players. You'll see in the bottom right, your tome will yell at you if it's fully completed, which is not as good as some of the tome reminder mods that we have on PC, but that's going to end up being a very good change when this update ends up coming to console most of all. And just the base game, it's nice to actually have that. So tomes now gain experience whenever reliquaries do as well, so you can finish up your tomes while you're in caves and stuff like that, which is cool. Picking up plants in Geode now gives tome experience and reliquary experience. Damn. Okay. So I guess going for plants might actually serve more of a purpose. That's in the Geode Caves, though. It doesn't say about the Delves. Bomber Royale and Team Deathmatch no longer give tome experience. Less reason to do either of those. Tome descriptions have been reformatted to be more readable. Information has also been added where to acquire all of the tomes. Filling tomes is now called charging for consistency, which is a nice little change. So new player login bonuses. Oh, that's why I got this. Okay, the login bonus screen now automatically opens on changing worlds after logging in if a player has a reward to claim. Well, that is 100% not true because I had to open this manually myself. Activating Patron no longer gives all the new player login bonus rewards and instead only gives rewards for the current day. So that could kind of suck if you just randomly have like 1 day of Patron or something like that, but whatever. If the player activates Patron after already claiming the daily reward, they will still be able to claim the Patron reward for that specific day. That kind of sucks. So that means like, does that mean that a new player isn't going to be able to claim the Patron reward unless they have Patron consistently for the first 7 days of playing? Like, very strange, dude. Very, very strange. Or at least the way that they're wording it is strange. Anyways, new player login rewards correctly progress at the normal daily reset. Because otherwise they changed at the day, whatever. Login rewards only progress 1 day at a time. Players can no longer claim all rewards at the same time by only opening the bonus screen on the last day. Weird. So I guess you have to like make sure that you end up claiming them, guys, because otherwise you can miss out. Anyways, I'll kind of skim over this because it's a little bit boring. Framework changes. This is interesting. So frameworks are that are small enough to fit in cornerstones can now be placed in cornerstones. What? Okay, that's pretty crazy. Frameworks are the pre-built buildings. So you would already be able to put some of them in your cornerstone. So I honestly don't know what they're even talking about. I was surprised because for some weird reason I thought that they were talking about the frameworks from Club Worlds, but that didn't make any sense. So frameworks now all state where they can be placed, either cornerstones and Club Worlds. I mixed up frameworks with fixtures is why I freaked out for a second there. Placing frameworks will no longer return destroyed blocks to the player. Why? Many frameworks have had their, maybe because of lag, honestly, have had their default rotation a little bit clearer, corrected the glow, and basically they fixed up frameworks a little bit so that they're more consistent with cornerstones, which is nice. The store, so daily deals have been added to the store. There are 5 possible deals and a random one that will be offered for 4 hours out of every 24 hours. Don't let these pass you by. An Inert Geode wallet expansion is now available, 1250 credits. New dungeons have been added to the game as well for just some of the main biomes. There's a bunch of new styles. There's also a whole bunch of new helmets, which, ooh, these are, I'll show you guys some of these, but they're really good because they're animal heads. We finally got some more, guys. It's really cool. And they're made by some really good modders so that they don't actually, like, it's not like they suck. They're actually, like, really good. Because the animal heads are some of the best items in the game. I actually need to claim these right now because I didn't actually do this, but we have like a bunch of spear styles as well. Let me just use a bunch of these and then we'll kind of just skip through these, but you can see we're actually gaining a lot of mastery and I leveled up from it. That's crazy. Spear style, gun style. So we got an owl head. Sorry it's so tiny, but I'll just kind of show you very quickly. A soft helm that's like a crab or something. A nice little swords. Another parrot. That's just a hair bun sword thing. Pigeon, sky mouse. I love that. That's hilarious. Some weird guns. This fish out of water. That's like one of my favorites. It's so meme worthy. A deer head, a snake head. pelican, I think, right? I don't know. Whatever this is, I think it's like a fox or it's a raccoon in Japan. Triceratops. It's really cool. Like, we actually got some nice heads, nice new weapons as well. So that's pretty cool. But I have to show you guys the where's the fish? Look at this. Look at this. It just looks so stupid. I love that thing, dude. Anyways, so there's also additional updates, and ooh boy, there's a lot of these. So I guess I'll kind of read through these myself so that I can kind of give you guys the biggest highlights. They remove fall damage, so that's a pretty good one. Colorblind improvements. Chaos factor rewards are now tied to completing dungeons per day, as I mentioned earlier. Reduce the time to resurrect players to 4 seconds instead of 8. Crystal 2 and 3 drops are now more frequent. This is across the board, so that's really nice. You can also loot collect Crystal 3 items, and it will return between 10 and 285 crystalline cores, depending on the number of stars involved with it. So I hope you guys were saving your Crystal 3 gear. Pinatas can be exclusively used in clubs and hub worlds now. I guess you can't use them anywhere else. It's kind of weird. Club phones can now only be used in clubs by club members. Name changers can only be used in hubs and clubs. Leviathan chests should be able to open even if the player is running back when the boss dies. Only people who have actively participated in dealing damage are eligible for the loot. So even if you end up dying, I don't know what the percentage is of that, but basically you have to contribute to the Leviathans. If you don't do enough damage, you're not going to be able to get enough loot, which is kind of weird. Fixtures will now better check their placement before rebuilding after an upgrade. So if they cannot build successfully, they will refund their placement price and need to be placed down again. Oh yeah, they also changed something with, players can donate clue bits to clubs they are not a member of. But in order to enable this, a club will have to remove their Cluebit union and place it down again. So we're going to have to do that here in Team Pixel. And basically it means that random players, I don't know why you would want to, random players can come over to here and donate their Cluebits that aren't even a part of Team Pixel. So it's just kind of a nice way that people could end up doing it, I guess. But anyways, class leaderboards now require effort on the class in order to progress. So the following things all count towards this leaderboard at varying amounts listed from biggest to smallest. So there's completing hourly challenges, all 3 tiers, completing rampages. I don't really like those, but challenge delve floor, private delve floor, public delve, killing leviathans, finding companion eggs, all of this stuff, as far as I know, is going to swap out every week. So kind of cool. I mean, for those that actually care about this stuff, it's kind of neat, but unfortunately it does require a little bit more effort it requires a little bit more effort of specific functions. My point is, and why I say unfortunate, is let's say you only want to do delves right now, but your weekly challenge is to complete rampages or to complete hourly challenges. So you'd be stuck doing that all the time, whether you wanted to actually do delves or just completing 3-star dungeons, whatever. I'm just making a point. Using /stuck now gives a more helpful message. You can also do /freeze_companion in order to actually like freeze your companion so you can take good screenshots and stuff. Debug text can now be used to display debug text. I don't know what that means. You can also do /export metrics, and that will actually only work on PC. That's not going to work even when this update comes to console. But you can always do /played to show how long you've actually played this game. So I have played for 155 days. That does not, maybe the metric itself isn't tracking 155 days into hours. I'm just curious. 3,720 hours. I've played this game for over 5 years. That seems a bit small. So I don't think that it's been, like, clearly this has not been working since I joined this game. You know, like there's obviously a certain point that these metrics have been tracked. You can also do /switch cornerstone is no longer usable, as the UI is easy. Oh, okay, they removed that. / commands now have a 0.5 second shared cooldown. I mean, that kind of sucks because the cooldowns are really glitchy with text commands. Currencies from Snowfest 2019 have melted. Bomber Royale bombs thrown metric no longer increments from Fatrix or Clitter bombs. A lot of other like nice little changes as well, guys. Plants and Geode give reliquary experience. Crystals now have a small internal cooldown on giving back energy and reducing grappling hook costs. So I guess you can't spam them. I don't know why, but I don't know why they would want to make it like less accessible to do Geode stuff. All hairstyles are now usable by all head types. The lady and guy head have been renamed to clean and stubble, which is a lot better. Yeah, there's a lot of our like little changes here. Some of these are actually really, really good, so I'd recommend you guys read through them, but I don't want this video to be longer than it needs to be, so so maybe we'll kind of just skip through a little bit here. Extras for the following items. Oh, if you loot collect a bunch of different dragon eggs, including prisms of light, apparently you'll actually get more items. Huh. Or maybe it's just that you can now loot collect them. Interesting. Pets, mounts, and auras purchased for Adventurine can now be loot collected back into Adventurine. Clarify the credit pouch description, blah, 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 blah. We could just go on and on, but honestly, I'm a little bit tired of reading this wall of text, so I'll leave it to you guys to end up checking this out. But either way, hopefully you found this video helpful. My God, it is a huge wall of text. We did cover the basis of the update. And then obviously I'll have like more videos coming out over the following weeks that are going to be more refined and talking about very specific features, because a lot of this stuff can have its own dedicated like video talking about it, guys. Like there's a lot to all of this, especially the delves alone. Like I'm gonna be able to make I'm going to make so many different videos. Like I'm gonna have to make a tier list for all the classes. I'm gonna have to make videos just talking about how delves work, how you can optimize going through them, what all the different objectives that can generate, because I mentioned monoliths earlier, but I didn't really talk about them in too much detail. Same with, there is a very rare objective of like just mining ore as well, but I've never seen it yet. I think I saw it like once on the test server and then never again, so I don't know. But anyways, thanks for watching. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel, and have yourselves a fantastic day. Stay norm and stay epic, gamers.